Hello everyone, good evening. My name is Chiranjit Mishra and today I'm going to discuss the news items of News Today, January 13th. Again, there are 14 news items, 5 major news and 9 minor news items which are also called quick updates. Let's quickly go through the news item titles and then we can discuss each and every news one by one. I hope it's visible. So the news items are, the first two news items are related to international relations. That is, India and Germany marked 75 years of ties. That means it has been 75 years since India recognized Germany. That time it was West Germany. And India-Germany strategic relationship, it has actually been over close to 25 years. It began in 2001. Okay. The second IR news is related to India-Middle East-Europe economic corridor. The third news is related to grey zone warfare, a type of warfare in which there is no evident bloodshed, but still countries suffer. The fourth news is related to India's fish production, which has increased by nearly 100% in over a decade. The last main news is about India's coal production, which also witnessed an annual increase, okay, of 5%. Now let's go through the quick updates. The first quick update is about sports governance. This has been repeatedly in the news because of the new act and the rules. The second news item, minor news item, is about unified framework for India's skilling ecosystem, as there is this traditional industry academia gap. The third is about India-Germany MOU on hydrogen blending. Again, this is related to the first main news. So on the sidelines of that, many agreements were signed, and hydrogen blending is one such initiative, which is going to be co-developed by India and Germany. Next, DRDO tests indigenous, it's man-portable anti-tank missile, okay, that is MPA-TGM. The next minor news is about India. India is going to chair United Nations Disarmament Advisory Board. Next, Pax Silica, which is a very novel concept. That means peace, maintaining peace through silica, SiO2 exchange. This is an initiative by the United States to have a strong hold on the semiconductor market globally, because it doesn't want to take the help of China or rely upon China. But India is not a part of that Pax Silica. Next, Nirantar initiative. Again, it's about managing natural resources in urban development. The last quick update is about Australia Group completes 4 decades. That means it's a nuclear export material control regime, which came into existence in 1985. So that means 40 years have been completed. Today there is one place in the news which is Argentina because of the wildfires. So without delay, let's start. The first news is India-Germany marks the relationship has completed 75 years. As I said in the beginning, 75 years, that time there was no Germany. East Germany and West Germany came into being soon after the World War was over. One was controlled by the West and the other by the East, led by Russia. Okay? So India recognized West Germany in 1951. It's 2026, that means 75 years. But the strategic relationship between India and Germany started in 2001. You may ask, what is strategic relationship? Okay, first 1951 में क्या हुआ? Recognition मिला नहीं, India recognized West Germany. Second, that happened in 1951. Second होगा 2001, India enhanced the relationship with Germany from a normal or general relationship to strategic relationship or strategic partnership. Strategic partnership is the correct word. You may ask, in prelims you may not get a question on what is strategic partnership, but in the mains it's very important. Or in the interview round, they may ask if somebody has given Indian Foreign Service as his or her first choice. Strategic partnership means goal-oriented partnership. It's not just some normal hello-hi relationship. That means India and Germany are on the same boat because of certain geopolitical circumstances. You may wonder, both are powerful nations, and both, yet they are not member of the United Nations Security Council, not one of the 5 permanent members. But they have shown strong willingness to be part of UNSC. So that is one of the binding factor, UNSC. ठीक है? Second क्या हो गया? Now you can see the uncertain relations between the United States on one side and the rest of the globe. Okay? Especially the United States is also trying to, because several times President Trump has asserted that NATO exists because of the US, and NATO consists of many European powers. So in a way, he's angering European powers. Okay, so that becomes another reason. That is one of the immediate reasons. Also because of the 500% tariffs on India. So another common ground. Tariffs, or you can say US. Again, this Venezuela thing, the president got captured by the United States. So that was the violation of rule-based world order. And both India and Germany are big votaries of rules-based order. Okay, rules-based order हो गया third. ठीक है? Then China, another threat, which is Indo-Pacific. So these pillars, 4 pillars have been mentioned. They strongly support this strategic partnership between India and Germany. And the other areas which actually strengthen this particular relationship are emerging technologies, critical minerals. Okay, that is why India and Germany are strategic partners. You can mention this. Okay, let's see. So recently what happened, the Chancellor, who is the political head or the head of the government of Germany, he visited India, and many agreements were signed on the sidelines of this 75 years anniversary. Okay, let's go through. बाकी जो सब है आपको facts रट्टा मारना है. You understood the history, the background. Germany Chancellor visits, which boosts bilateral ties. Strategic partnership milestone in 2025-26. Defense industrial cooperation roadmap signed. Because now, this is important because India doesn't want to be just an importer of defense items, starting from weapons or other accessory materials. India wants to co-produce because this is a part of India's Atmanirbharta vision. Okay? India strives to be Atmanirbhar. That is why it wants to co-produce. हम सिर्फ import नहीं करेंगे. We'll, together with other nations, will create technologies. Focus on co-development and cooperation. वही वाला part हो गया. Germany to join Indian naval exercise. This is very important. This is with regard to Indo-Pacific. See, there are many naval exercises that India conducts annually with different nations. One such thing is Varuna with France. ठीक है? Indra, you may note down. Indra with Russia. But Germany के साथ अभी तक कुछ है नहीं. So this is going to help India and Germany act together for the security and stability in the Indo-Pacific region. ये start होने वाला है अभी. The name has not been given yet. अभी पता चल जाएगा आपको. Track 1.5 security dialogue institutionalized. यहाँ पे track 1.5 होता क्या है? These are different types of diplomacy. One is track 1.0. ये आपको पता ही होगा. 1.0 means government diplomacy. Government officials talk with each other. It also includes the head of the governments or head of the states. Track 2 क्या होता है? Before knowing track 1.5, we need to know track 1.0 and 2.0. 2.0 होता है non-state actors के बीच, businessmen हो गया, these are informal meetings. These meetings do not involve government of officials, okay? Track 1.0 का government, 2.0 का non-government. 1.5 क्या होगा? Intermediate. Track 1.5 हो गया intermediate. Government हो गया plus non-government. ठीक है? And that is going to give it another secure thread to strengthen the relationship. Semiconductors and critical minerals cooperation, जैसे मैंने बताया, one of the most important pillars that vouches for India's strategic partnership with Germany. Visa-free transit for Indian passport holders. For example, if you're going to go to Europe via Germany, earlier for that transit period also, you need to have a visa. Now it's not required. Indo-Pacific consultation mechanism announced, again for security and stability in South China Sea and Indian Ocean and Pacific Ocean. Indo-German higher education roadmap adopted. That means it will involve cultural or student exchange programs. ठीक है? Yeah, you have to memorize. See, again, you can just go through the previous year questions. Not a single question on any particular country has been asked, apart from China, US, or some groupings. Okay, ऐसे हर एक question के ऊपर तो नहीं आएगा, but to improve the quality of our answers, you can insert certain points. कि strategic partnership with Germany. Okay. Bilateral trade crossed. Why this India-Germany relationship is again important, and it has been due to many facts, and these facts support the fact that India and Germany are strong global partners. Okay. एक हो गया the amount of trade, because Germany is India's largest trade partner in the whole of the European Union. UK तो अभी पार्ट नहीं रहा EU का, Brexit हो गया, ठीक है. Germany accounts for over 25% of the India-Europe trade. तो ये अगर पाई चार्ट बना देंगे, इतना परसेंटेज आपको जर्मनी के साथ ट्रेड करते हो. And this pie chart is with regard to the total use trade with you. Germany 9th largest FDI investor in India. Not one of the like top 5 investors like Mauritius, Singapore, but top 10 में आता है ये. GSDP. This is actually Green and Sustainable Development Program. Aligns climate cooperation with Paris goals. You know, Germany is one of the leading producers and users of renewable energy. So it is going to help India in creating technologies for India's smooth transition to green technology, green energy fuels. Okay. The next news, there is no particular question that I could come across between India and Germany relations based on that. The next theme is again related to international relations, which is IMEC, strategic relevance and choke points. GS paper 2 again. Last one is also important from the point of view of GS2, maybe a small angle as regards GS paper 3. Isme this economic corridor, as you can see the map, this is a corridor. Last year in the prelims there was a question on INSTC, north-south corridor. This is also a similar corridor, but it is more comprehensive in nature. Why? Because India still relies upon the Suez Canal route. Suez Canal आपको पता है, अफ्रीका के थ्रू पास होते जाता है, ठीक है? This is, yes, ये वाला. Now it takes a lot of time इसके घूमते हुए आने के लिए, and also because of China's string of pearl theory, China is trying to get a strong foothold on all the global ports, especially in the Indian Ocean region. That's why India wants to bypass that. पहला तो हो गया reduction in the cost of logistics cost, ठीक है? दूसरा हो गया counter China. And this IMEC, which is called India, Middle East, Europe Economic Corridor. India, Middle East, Europe Economic Corridor. There should have been one more E, but only this is the abbreviation, IMEC. Okay. होता क्या है? This is a multimodal corridor. That means there will be roadways, railways, digital infrastructure, for example, internet के लिए cables, all will be laid through this route. As you can see, Mumbai se, this is the sea part, the oceanic part, and the rest is land till here. It will go through, pass through Saudi Arabia and United Arab Emirates, the established countries in the whole of Middle East, okay, and then it will pass through Mediterranean region. यहाँ से होके जाएगा, ठीक है? This is, you can see Greece के आसपास कहीं पे, ठीक है? Again, it can easily get connected to the whole of the Europe through the mainland route, land route. That means India is not going to depend upon Pakistan, Iran, ये सब, Iraq, ये सब bypass हो गए, Afghanistan, ये सब bypass हो गए. This is going to go through the Arabian Sea, this is the oceanic part, and finally it will pass through Saudi Arabia और पहुंच जाएगा ग्रीस के आसपास through Mediterranean Sea. Okay. Importance आपको बता दिया. Number 1 हो गया to reduce the logistics cost. Second, to bypass the Chinese advancement and domination over the oceanic routes. देख लेते हैं इसका features क्या है. This is a very you can say hot theme for GS paper 2 mains exam. It was initiated during the G20 summit that was hosted by India. India was the president of the G20 summit that time in 2023. And many countries immediately agreed to this proposal. Okay? Partners include India, US and Gulf. Yes, although the United States is far away from the region, but it has geopolitical and geoeconomic importance because United States relations with Saudi and UAE are good. That's why there is also a block called I2U2, India, Israel, US और UAE. Okay? So ये जो तहत इसके तहत, although US is Iran's one of #1 rival, US is not on good terms with Iraq now. Before it was not. Okay? But the relationship between United States and Saudi Arabia and UAE are quite good. That is why, and it has also a very big stake because US is China's #1 rival. Anything against China pleases the United States. तो ये भी एक bridging organization है, ठीक है? That brings to the table all the important agenda concerning these countries, ठीक है? So they are the stakeholders. MOU signed in New Delhi Summit 2023 में links India, Middle East, Europe, integrates ports, railways, roads and pipelines. Pipelines to carry gas as well as cables. Data transmission भी होगा इससे, ठीक है? Objective क्या होगा? Enhance trade across the 3 regions, develop modern multimodal infrastructure, improve supply chain efficiency and resilience. Because now India is not going to depend upon Suez Canal route. आपको पता होगा Suez Canal में क्या हुआ था? जब हाउती attacks हुआ था यमन में, so this part had become very vulnerable. ये part. Now India has managed to bypass. Not yet. It is like in the process, under process. As soon as it is ready, this route, India will bypass the Suez Canal route. Okay? Because it's very vulnerable and also the entire region is vulnerable. Even the North African countries, Sudan, South Sudan, Egypt, okay? Egypt में भी हुआ था Arab Spring में. So anything can happen. These are volatile regions. The only two stable, the most stable Middle East players are Saudi and UAE. तो इसलिए इनसे गुजर के जाओ. There is, because this is a very less vulnerable region as compared to this route. यहाँ पे आप स्ट्रेट ऑफ बाबल मैंडब को भी पास करके जाओगे, ठीक है? जहाँ पे हॉर्न ऑफ अफ्रीका इज ऑल्सो नॉट अ वेरी स्टेबल रीजन. ये पूरा रीजन यू कैन इजीली बाईपास. हो गया, और कुछ नहीं इसमें जानना. क्या क्या? ट्रेड रूट डाइवर्सिफिकेशन रिड्यूसेस डिपेंडेंस ऑन, ये सारा मैंने आपको बता दिया. रेड सी क्राइसिस एक्सपोज्ड रूट वल्नरेबिलिटी, लोअर लॉजिस्टिक्स कॉस्ट एंड टाइम. दीज 2 फैक्ट्स यू कैन रिमेंबर, न्यूमेरिकल फैक्ट्स, ठीक है? कट्स ट्रांजिशन टाइम अप टू 40%. शिप का जाना एंड आना, टर्न अराउंड टाइम बोलते हैं, दैट विल बी रिड्यूस्ड. टर्न अराउंड टाइम, ठीक है? एंड देन लॉजिस्टिक्स विल बी रिड्यूस्ड बाय 30%. 100 रुपये लग रहा था तो अभी 70 रुपये लगेगा. रिस्क क्या क्या है आपको पता था? ये वाला रीजनल कॉन्फ्लिक्ट्स. देर इज अगेन ए चांस. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, व्हाट इफ इजराइल का कल को पूरा OIC के कंट्रीज, ऑर्गेनाइजेशन फॉर इस्लामिक कंट्रीज के साथ जंग छेड़ दिया, विच हैज़ अ वेरी रेयर चांस, बट स्टिल देर इज अ पॉसिबिलिटी. तो कुछ ना कुछ तो रिस्क हमेशा रहता है, बट दिस रीजन और दिस रूट इज मच मोर स्टेबल देन द सुएज कनाल रूट, ठीक है? तो यू कैन जस्ट टेक नोट ऑफ ऑल दी पॉइंट्स. आई हैव डिस्कस्ड एवरीथिंग. Okay. Previous question कुछ आया था कि last year there was a very interesting question. This question was on India is one of the founding members of the International North-South Transport Corridor. There was a lot of debate around the correct answer. इसमें A और D के बीच में बहुत जन फंसे हुए थे, ठीक है? Visionaries ने A दिया था. Let's wait for UPSC's official answer की. You can just pause the video and take note of the question. Okay. Next आ गया grey zone warfare and cyber conflicts risks. Again, let's briefly discuss what happened in Venezuela. The president was captured, but before that, what happened? All its critical infrastructure, starting from electricity to telecommunication to a certain extent, were actually damaged. or there was blackout, there was no electricity. How did that happen? Everything was the deed of the United States. Because nowadays, even the power grids are digitized. Power grids भी digitized हैं, है ना? Power grids are digitized. Telecommunication line, of course, digitized. So these form banking system, everything is digitized. These form critical infrastructure. Critical infrastructure, ठीक है? क्या क्या? Power grids हो गए, telecommunication line, banking, railways, everything is online now. So one nation can easily hack into the system of its rival nation or enemy nation, and it can cause large-scale disruption. That is what happened in Venezuela first, before the president was captured. पूरा blackout हो गया था, and they did complete rehearsal, ठीक है? Before getting into action. So that is quite possible. It's not just limited to US, Venezuela. It can have a domino effect. Many other countries can also learn from this. So this is what amounts to gray zone warfare. As you can see this picture, gray होता क्या है? Black plus white. ठीक है? White means peace, black means war. लेकिन gray zone warfare में there is no evident bloodshed. Nobody is going to kill anybody, but still it can cause a lot of damage. That is why it's called gray zone warfare. Gray zone warfare. ठीक है? What happened in Venezuela was actually a mix of gray zone and direct warfare, because some people were also killed. Military action भी हुआ था. But cyber frauds, Russia's attack on the United States, Chinese attack and Pakistan attack on India's websites, these can be classified under gray zone warfare. जिसमें there is no evident bloodshed, nobody is killing anyone, but actual damage is being done. This is gaining ground. This is gradually becoming more and more popular. पहले, because इसमें होता क्या है ना, you can victimize anyone without letting that victim of yours know that you are the one behind the damage. Suppose a country damages country B, or creates a lot of damage in country B, but B cannot be very sure or certain that it was A behind the entire thing. So that gives a lot of edge. आपको पता चल जाता है. You can cause harm to your enemy without your identity being revealed. That is why it's gaining ground. All sorts of cyber crimes in which or affecting critical infrastructure, as I mentioned, these come under grey war zone. अब समझ में तो आ गया, बस पॉइंट रट्टा मारना है, आप कर सकते हो, कोई बड़ी बात नहीं है. It occurs below threshold of conventional war. Threshold मतलब इसीलिए you had no country, the victimizing country, victimizing and victimized, ये suffer करता है, this country is the perpetrator. ठीक है? Victimizing country और victim country के बाद there is no war. Threshold क्या होता है? For example, the first bullet that you fire is actually the threshold. ये direct war है. That involves bloodshed, killing of people, or missile attacks. Even if the missiles are launched using drones, that amounts to conventional warfare. इसके below जो होता है underground, ये होता है grey zone warfare. ठीक है? Cyber attacks, misinformation. एक दूसरा important limb होगा misinformation. Sorry, I forgot to mention that. For example, spreading lies about one particular nation. You can mobilize the population of your enemy nation. Just like Iran is claiming now कि US अभी क्या कर रहा है? It's getting involved in an indirect manner. So there are numerous protests in Iran and several people have died also. They're saying that the economic angle of this particular protest is actually being heightened by the United States. It's spreading misinformation among the Iranian population. दूसरा क्या हो गया? Proxies and coercion. Proxy मतलब instead of fighting directly, you can use your either non-state actors or smaller countries. जैसे Ukraine is a proxy of the entire West. Russia is directly fighting, but पूरा West fight कर रहा है using Ukraine as a prop or a proxy. Coercion, दबाव, debt trap policy of China. उधार दो, and the moment the taker of the loan is not able to pay back, पुट सम कोएर्सिव मेजर्स, ओके, जो चाइना करता है, डेट ट्रैप पॉलिसी। फिर हो गया एक्सप्लोर्स लीगल एम्बिग्विटी एंड प्लॉजिबल डिनाबिलिटी। प्लॉजिबल डिनाबिलिटी माने यू कैन इजिली से नो कि आई वाज नॉट बिहाइंड द अटैक और बिहाइंड द मिस इन्फॉर्मेशन और डिसइन्फॉर्मेशन, ओके। इंक्रीजिंगली यूज बाय स्टेट एंड नॉन स्टेट एक्टर्स, दोनों कर रहे हैं। कभी कभी साइबर अटैक्स जो होता है, बिकॉज मोस्ट ऑफ द टेरर ग्रुप्स दे आर सीमिंगली नॉन स्टेट एक्टर्स गाइडेड बाय और बैक्ड बाय पाकिस्तान, ब्लर्स लाइन बिटवीन पीस एंड वॉर, ठीक है। Cyber operations act as precursors to kinetic conflict. Kinetic conflict means direct mobilization of the troops. यही हुआ था वेनेजुएला के केस में अभी। पहले साइबर अटैक हुआ, उसके बाद रियल एक्शन। टारगेट्स इंक्लूड पावर ग्रिड्स, टेलीकॉम, फाइनेंस, इलेक्शंस। इलेक्शंस को भी मैनिपुलेट किया गया था। देयर वाज रशियन इन्वॉल्वमेंट इन द यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स इलेक्शंस, ओके। देयर वर सम एलिगेशंस। लो कॉस्ट, हाई इम्पैक्ट, हार्ड टू एट्रीब्यूट टूल्स। हाई इम्पैक्ट मतलब बहुत लो कॉस्ट। यू आर नॉट गोइंग टू यूज मिसाइल्स बिकॉज यू कैन जस्ट यूज अ ग्रुप ऑफ हैकर्स, अनएथिकल हैकर्स, एंड यू कैन गेन एक्सेस इन टू कॉन्फिडेंशियल सिस्टम्स। enables strategic gains without triggering war. और इंडिया के पास क्या क्या इनिशिएटिव्स है इफ सच एन अटैक occurs and India is at the receiving end, what are the various tools with India to counter such attack? सबसे बड़ी बात होगी यहाँ पे certain, the first response system, ठीक है, critical emergency response tool जो इंडिया के पास है सिस्टम, इसमें क्या करेगा, कोई भी साइबर अटैक होता है इट विल इशू अलर्ट्स। नेशनल साइबर सिक्योरिटी पॉलिसी फ्रेमवर्क, ओके, जिसके तहत देयर आर मेनी रूल्स टू मेक श्योर दैट द साइबर सिक्योरिटी सिस्टम इज proper and adequate. Civil military cyber coordination, that means commoners can also supply data to other forces which are in charge. The technical, even if you don't have technical knowledge, you can contribute in a own good manner. जैसे fraud calls आते हैं, you can, there is RBI platform जिसमें आप भी list down कर सकते हैं, ठीक है. Advocacy for global cyber norms and overall global policy के लिए इंडिया सपोर्ट करता है because India has been a voter of cyber security. Question, एक related question था, cyber warfare is considered by some defense analysts to be a larger threat than even Al-Qaeda or terrorism. This was asked in 2013, I guess. Yes, GS paper 3. ठीक है, काफी important topic है. The last two main news are related to India's production. The first one is related to fish production. The second is related to coal production. Let's go through this news related to India's fish production, which has undergone an increase of 100%. 100% बढ़ गया, nearly, close to 100% approximately in 10 years. That's why it's in the news. And hats off to, or thanks to policies like Blue Revolution, प्रधानमंत्री मत्स्य संपदा योजना, जिसके कारण ये सब हुआ है. That's it. India is not the largest, the second largest fish producer, followed by China. Important news इतना कुछ है नहीं, but data काफी important है. Theme में कुछ समझना नहीं है, but काफी important है from the point of view of GS paper 3 again. ठीक है, कि क्या अभी का status है and what else can be done. See, pisciculture और aquaculture का क्या importance है? पहले तो नंबर 1 हो गया ब्लू इकोनॉमी, नंबर 2 हो गया रूरल लाइवलीहुड, बिकॉज मोस्ट ऑफ द फिशरमैन दे लिव ऑन द कोस्ट इन कोस्टल विलेजेस, तो उनको एम्प्लॉयमेंट मिलता है. क्रोर्स ऑफ पीपल आर एम्प्लॉयड इन दिस पर्टिकुलर, इन्वॉल्व इन दिस पर्टिकुलर सेक्टर. थर्ड क्या हो गया, न्यूट्रिशनल सिक्योरिटी, नॉट जस्ट फॉर एक्सपोर्टिंग बट ऑल्सो फॉर डोमेस्टिक कंजम्पशन, बिकॉज ऑल द इंडिया इज अ फिश ईटिंग नेशन. ठीक है, ये 3 इंपॉर्टेंट एंगल है इसका, ब्लू इकोनॉमी, रूरल लाइवलीहुड, न्यूट्रिशनल सिक्योरिटी. देख सकते हैं डेटा क्या है, 95% था. यू डोंट नीड टू मेमोराइज द प्रिसाइज नंबर्स, रफली आप बोल सकते हैं 96 था, या 100 भी बोल सकते हैं, अप्रॉक्सीमेटली 100 से कितना हो गया 198 या 200, कितना हो गया 100 से 200, 100% इंक्रीज. ठीक है, डिफरेंस इज 100 अपॉन 100 इंटू 100. इंडिया इज वर्ल्ड सेकेंड लार्जेस्ट फिश प्रोड्यूसर, लार्जेस्ट है चाइना. 8% ऑफ द ग्लोबल फिश आउटपुट. अब इसको अगर मिलियन टन्स में करेंगे, क्लोज टू कितना होगा 10 मिलियन टन्स. ओके, 1 मिलियन इज इक्वल टू 10 लाख. चाइना का इज क्लोज टू 60 मिलियन टन्स, मेट्रिक टन्स, 6 to 7 times ग्रेटर देन दैट ऑफ इंडिया. ठीक है, सपोर्ट्स लाइवलीहुड ऑफ अराउंड 3 crore पीपल, रूरल लाइवलीहुड. 7.43% to agriculture GVA, और ये data you can just memorize. What is productivity? Productivity is production per area. Productivity is a better measure to check the efficiency of an economy or a particular sector. तो इसमें देखेंगे productivity 4.77 tons per hectare है, तब इसका मतलब total production is 100 million metric tons, sorry, जितना था 900, what was the figure? Sorry, 96 lakh tons है, that means 9 million tons divided by total area, that gives you productivity. Okay. Aquaculture productivity reached, yeah, you can just memorize the numbers. Seafood exports at 16.98, that means close to 17 lakh tons, 2023 or 22 में. Seafood includes fish, shrimps, prawns, everything. This is a broader classification than fish, okay? And this was possible because of the initiatives taken by the Indian government. क्या क्या सबसे बड़ा तो हो गया the umbrella scheme, that is प्रधानमंत्री मत्स्य संपदा योजना, ठीक है, ये वाला, which drives India's blue revolution. उसके अंदर there have been many sub schemes as well. Focus on infrastructure gaps, fishery sector, supports for cages, biofloc units, brood banks. Brood banks is for fish eggs, जहाँ पे different types of eggs आप store करके रख सकते हो, different variety, okay. PM मत्स्य किसान समृद्धि सह योजना मीन सब स्कीम लॉन्च इन 2024. ये सब स्कीम किस लिए था? इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर के लिए, ये इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर डेवलपमेंट के लिए. हो सकता है डायरेक्ट बेनिफिशियरीज फिश फार्मर्स ना हो और फिशरमैन ना हो, ये दिस इज फॉर क्रिएटिंग इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर. लार्ज स्केल पॉन्ड्स हो गया, या फिर आप बोल सकते हो प्रोसेसिंग यूनिट्स हो गए जहाँ पे फिश प्रोसेसिंग होता है, बिफोर गेटिंग एक्सपोर्टेड फिश इज प्रोसेस्ड, ठीक है. डेवलपमेंट फंड लॉन्च इन 2018-19. चैलेंजेस क्या है? वही ओवर फिशिंग एंड हैबिटेट डिस्ट्रक्शन, एक्सप्लॉट हो रहे हैं बहुत ज़्यादा, ठीक है. क्लाइमेट चेंज इम्पैक्ट्स ऑन फिशरीज, द ब्रीडिंग सीजन्स आर ऑल्टर्ड, दैट्स वाई प्रोडक्टिविटी कैन ऑल्सो बी ऑल्टर्ड, ओके. मार्केट फ्लक्चुएशंस एंड IEU फिशिंग विच मीन्स इलीगल फिशिंग, अनरिपोर्टेड फिशिंग एंड अनरेगुलेटेड फिशिंग, ये तीनों ही चैलेंजेस हैं. इलीगल, अनरिपोर्टेड एंड अनरेगुलेटेड, ठीक है. IEU. Limited access to finance and markets, food security and gender inequality issues. This is related to workforce. बहुत कुछ समझना नहीं है, बस it's mostly about memorization because there is nothing much to understand here. Last main news which is related to India's highest ever coal production. Okay, paper 3 again. उस समय हमने देखा fish production has been इंक्रीज बाय 100% इन ओवर अ डेकेड. 10 साल में 100% हो गया, डबल हो गया. इसमें द इंक्रीज इज स्मॉल बिकॉज दिस इज जस्ट एज कंपेयर टू लास्ट ईयर्स प्रोडक्शन, ठीक है. लास्ट ईयर में कितना प्रोड्यूस हुआ था? 2023-24 में उससे 5% इंक्रीज हो गया 2024-25 में. अभी द करंट फिजिकल ईयर इज 2025-26 बिकॉज इट्स कंटिन्यूइंग, इट विल एंड on the 31st of March 2026. That's why we don't have the exact data. ये दोनों ईयर के बीच में है. 2024-25 का डेटा है as compared to 2023-24. In this year there was a 5% increase in coal production. I think let's go through again. You have to memorize some data. 2023-24 में इतना हुआ था, ये था 997 मेट्रिक टन्स, ठीक है. और यहाँ पे जो हो गया 1047.523 मेट्रिक टन्स. दैट मीन्स 50 लगा लो, है ना. 50 MT का इंक्रीज है ये, 50 मेट्रिक टन्स का इंक्रीज है ये, ठीक है. एंड द सैड फैक्ट इज दैट despite being one of the leading producers of coal, India doesn't have, पहले तो it doesn't have the largest or second largest reserve. Reserve के term में it's 5th largest. Still we are exploiting a lot of our existing coal reserve, ठीक है. US, China के पास बहुत ज़्यादा reserve है. But India's reserve, in terms of reserve, India's rank is 5 और production wise 2 है. That means India is exploiting at a very fast rate. And the biggest challenge is the quality of coal. Indian coal quality contains very low carbon and it has a very high ash कंटेंट, तो इसलिए ज़्यादा पोल्यूशन होने का चांस है इफ़ दे यूज टू जनरेट पावर। ओके, उसके रिगार्डिंग भी फैक्ट्स देख लेते हैं, वेयर डज इंडिया स्टैंड एंड व्हाट एल्स कैन बी डन। सो अभी जब ये हम पढ़ क्यों रहे हैं, ये एक रिपोर्ट आया था, ईयर एंड रिपोर्ट, एंड जिसके तहत वी गॉट टू नो दैट प्रोडक्शन हैज इंक्रीज्ड, बट इंडिया कैनॉट, although India is planning to adopt green energy technologies, India cannot suddenly give up on coal. अपने पास कोल बहुत है, फिफ्थ लार्जेस्ट रिजर्व, एंड वी ऑल्सो प्रोड्यूस अ लॉट, एंड द लार्जेस्ट प्रोड्यूसर इज कोल इंडिया लिमिटेड विच इज अ गवर्नमेंट सेक्टर कंपनी, कोल इंडिया लिमिटेड। ठीक है, चलो ये बाद में देख लेंगे। बट प्राइम मिनिस्टर ऑफ इंडिया, ऑनरेबल प्राइम मिनिस्टर ऑफ इंडिया हैज सेड दैट coal can be used as a next generation fuel, which is slightly counterintuitive, very surprising. Next generation fuels होना क्या चाहिए? Green fuels. But how can coal be used as a next generation fuel? उसके लिए we are going to use coal in a transformed manner. We are going to convert coal into a cleaner version, which may not be coal again. हम coal को इस्तेमाल करके we can use other chemicals. This concept is called coal to chemicals concept, and which is one good way to reduce pollution. Instead of directly using coal, we can produce certain chemicals. Chemicals क्या क्या हो सकते हैं? ये सबसे बड़ी बात तो गैस हो गया, सिन गैस, जिसके बारे में आपने पढ़ा होगा। ठीक है, which contains hydrogen and carbon monoxide. ये लेस पोल्यूटिंग है एज कंपेयर टू यूजिंग कोल डायरेक्टली। दैट इज वाई ऑनरेबल प्राइम मिनिस्टर हैज सेड कि कोल इज गोइंग टू बी यूज्ड एज द नेक्स्ट जनरेशन फ्यूल। ठीक है, क्योंकि अपने पास कोल बहुत है। रिन्यूएबल एनर्जी के लिए इट्स स्लाइटली चैलेंजिंग बिकॉज रिन्यूएबल एनर्जीज रिक्वायर कॉम्प्लिकेटेड और कॉम्प्लेक्स टेक्नोलॉजीज। अपने पास थोरियम रिजर्व है, बट थोरियम इज द नेक्स्ट जनरेशन न्यूक्लियर फ्यूल। कोल जो है उसी को वी आर गोइंग टू मेक द मोस्ट ऑफ इट। इंस्टेड ऑफ इंपोर्टिंग हाई क्वालिटी कोल, विच इज हर्टिंग और फॉरेन रिजर्व्स हमारा खत्म हो रहा है, फॉरेन करेंसी रिजर्व्स, वी कैन यूज अ डोमेस्टिक कोल बाई मेकिंग अदर केमिकल्स फ्रॉम कोल। ठीक है, उससे पहले एक बार देख लेते हैं द स्टेटस ऑफ कोल एंड कोल यूजिंग सेक्टर्स इन इंडिया। ठीक है, coal meets 55% of India's electricity generation. There is a small correction required. ये 55% energy generation नहीं है, ये 55% of India's energy mix. Okay, please note down 55% of India's energy mix. That means what are the different types of fuels used? Kerosene, petrol, diesel, ये सब मिला के अगर एक बास्केट हो गया, उसका 55% होगा कोल। ओके, ये बास्केट का 55% इतना कोल से आता है ऑफ इंडियाज एनर्जी मिक्स। इफ यू आस्क मी अबाउट इंडियाज इलेक्ट्रिसिटी जनरेशन यूजिंग कोल, दैट इज क्लोज टू 75%। अगर इंडिया में 100 यूनिट्स इलेक्ट्रिसिटी प्रोड्यूस हो रहे हैं, आउट ऑफ दैट 70 to 75% इज जनरेटेड यूजिंग कोल। इतना ले लो, 70 to 75%, ये रफली मान लो कितना हो गया, 72%। ठीक है, ये हो जाता तो 75% हो जाएगा, इतना कोल से बनता है। ठीक है, इंडिया इज द सेकंड लार्जेस्ट कोल प्रोड्यूसर, और मेजर कोल प्रोड्यूसिंग स्टेट्स क्या हैं? यू कैन सी झारखंड, उड़ीसा, छत्तीसगढ़, एमपी, वेस्ट बंगाल। कोल इंडिया लिमिटेड इज द लार्जेस्ट कोल एक्सट्रैक्टिंग कंपनी विच इज अ पब्लिक सेक्टर यूनिट अंडरटेकिंग। ठीक है, तो इसमें जो इंपॉर्टेंट टेक अवे है वो वाला ये है, नेक्स्ट जनरेशन फ्यूल। दैट्स व्हाई इट हैज बीन हाईलाइटेड, विच इज वेरी सरप्राइजिंग। प्लीज रिमेंबर, इंडिया इज नॉट गोइंग टू गिव अप ऑन कोल। इंडिया इज गोइंग टू यूज न्यू products which can be made using coal, and one of the important such products is syngas. Objective: reduce import dependence and ensure long term availability. बोल दिया आपको। demerits, challenges क्या हैं? Of course, again these fuels may be cleaner than coal, but again they will generate some amount of pollutants. ठीक है, it's not like hydrogen. Hydrogen is a clean form of fuel. If you use hydrogen, you will only get water and heat. But even if there are certain materials or substances which are cleaner than coal, they are not absolutely non-polluting. Okay, they are less polluting. Land acquisition and rehabilitation issues. Again, coal mining is actually requires large scale mining. First you have to choose or earmark a piece of land, then displacement of people, their rehabilitation. Okay, dependence on imported coking coal. Again, coking coal and non-coking coal, although this is not the right topic to discuss that, you need to know the difference. Coking coal और non-coking coal में difference क्या होता है? India produces coking coal is the coal which is used in metallurgy, manufacturing of steel and other alloys. This is also called metallurgical coal. And this requires high percentage of carbon. Indian coal does not have a very high percentage of carbon. That is why coking coal के लिए India imports. India imports coking coal from different countries like Australia. We produce non-coking coal, जिसमें carbon percentage is very low and ash content is very high. Ash content बहुत ही high है, carbon percent बहुत low है, ठीक है. Relative initiatives, coal gasification mission, syngas के लिए, these are two related initiatives, and commercial coal mining. That means private companies are also allowed to mine because they have more efficient technologies. But currently, Coal India Limited, which is a government company, is the largest producer of coal. But India is opening the doors to private players also. ठीक है? सब कुछ सीख गए और इसमें क्या previous year questions क्या? In spite of adverse environmental, yeah, I could not come across any direct question on coal in the economy section. This has an environmental angle, and 2-3 questions have been asked. One such question is this. This is the closest possible question on coal sector. As I mentioned, you can draw still some of the important points from the above slides. They say clean technology or coal to chemicals, syngas. Okay? These points you can steal and mention in any question which wants to know from you the environmental angle of coal production or coal utilization. Now let's go through the minor news. First, the place in the news is Argentina, and it's in the news because of the wildfires in Argentina. Last time California था, North America था, Australia हो गया, this time it's South America. ठीक है? So this is Argentina, a South American country which lies at the extreme south, as you can see. ये island यहाँ तक भी है, ठीक है? It is bordered by Brazil, Paraguay, Uruguay, Bolivia and Chile or Chile. Okay? ये जो जगह है ABC, A for Argentina, B for Bolivia and C for Chile. This is called lithium triangle. And India has a lot of interest in this part because lithium and batteries के लिए हमको चाहिए. And India does not have a usable reserve of lithium. Although some amount of lithium has been discovered in Jammu and Kashmir, usable form में नहीं है. यहाँ पे बहुत ज़्यादा lithium है. Capital क्या है? Buenos Aires, the capital city, which means fair winds because it's a coastal city. Pampas Plains in the north of Argentina, ठीक है? ये north वाला. Patagonian Plateau in the south, ये south Argentina में. And major rivers है Parana and Uruguay. Uruguay is not just the name of a country but also a river. It must be a transboundary river, certainly, ठीक है? Rich क्या है? Minerals, lithium है, ABC triangle. Because South America is in the news because of Venezuela and Argentina, you may expect a question in the prelims exam also. So please go through all the 12. There are 12 countries in South America. ठीक है? बहुत कम देश हैं. You can easily remember the names and capitals and also the map. They may ask how many, the Tropic of Capricorn passes through how many of the South American countries. ठीक है? ऐसे आ सकता map based question. So be thorough with the map of political and physical map of South America. आज के जो quick updates हैं, they are very basic news items. There is no science and tech related news except one, this man portable missile, anti-tank missile. बाकी सब national sports governance rules 2026. Again, as I said in the beginning, India is planning to host the 2036 Olympics. We are aiming at this 2036 Olympics. We have to be thoroughly prepared and ready. We have to raise our standards to global standards. That is why an act came into being, which is called National Sports Act 2025, and under that act, rules have been notified. Ministry of Youth Affairs, Ministry of Sports and Youth Affairs, ठीक है? Sports and Youth Affairs. Applies to national sports bodies. अभी हो क्या रहा है? There is a lack of transparency in all the sports bodies. Lots of fraud, pilferage, ठीक है? That means many sports person in the in our country, they don't meet the age criteria. So farzi karke they get a chance to, they get inducted into the sports at the national level. So to curb that, to curb such practices, we're going to standardize the sports bodies, sports regulatory bodies. That's why the rules have been notified. Fixed tenure, transparent elections. Of whom? Of the sports officials. Those who take bribes to lax rules. Okay. Mandatory athlete representation. Okay. Ethics and grievance mechanisms strengthened. Maybe a question in GS paper 4 also can be asked. Suppose you are the district, not district, you are the secretary of the Ministry of Sports Affairs, Sports and Youth Affairs, and you get to know that athletes have been given a chance to represent country. Athletes who fail to meet certain criteria have been given a chance to represent the country. If you get to know about this, what can be the course of action? Maybe, who knows, such a question can be asked. Because last time Olympics में भी कुछ issues हुए थे. Next, minor news is about Unified Framework for India's Skilling Ecosystem. This is a body, this is not a statutory body, National Council for Vocational Education and Training, which came into being in 2018. It's not a statutory body, although it's a national council. And it came into being after replacing two other bodies. एक था NSDA, National Skill Development Authority, एक था National Council for Education and Training. इन दोनों को merge करके बना दिया गया this body. It regulates vocational education standards, integrates skilling and certification, industrial and competency framework, so that there is no industry academia gap. Okay, that means people are getting vocational training to get immediate employment. News में इसलिए था because जो concerned ministry है उसने वही discuss किया कि India's जो skilled employees हैं, they're not actually skilled. They don't live up to the expectations of the industries they want to be part of. Enhances workforce mobility. That means to make them employment ready. Next is about this Petroleum Natural Gas Regulatory Board regulates downstream gas sector. This is on the lines of the sidelines of the India-Germany, Indian Chancellor coming to India and the agreements that came into being because of that. So again, as I mentioned in the beginning, hydrogen is a non-polluting source. Okay, तो अभी hydrogen blending होगा धीरे-धीरे, because India has a national green hydrogen mission. ठीक है, तो this blending will take place. Blending means mixing hydrogen with some other kind of fuel. We are not going to solely use hydrogen. Why? Because we have existing fuels. But gradually we will use hydrogen, which will make the mixture less polluting. It regulates downstream gas sector. Downstream means upstream is production, downstream is once it's produced from the field, oil field, and processed, refined, then it is transmitted using pipelines. That is the downstream sector. Upstream मतलब हो गया production, downstream हो गया marketing और supply to consumers. ठीक है, ये एक board company है, German gas water body. I don't know the expansion of the abbreviation. Must be some German name. This tied up with or worked in a collaborative manner with PNGRB, Petroleum and Natural Gas Regulatory Board. Together they are going to continue this initiative, hydrogen blending. Focus on hydrogen blending standards, supports green hydrogen mission, enables low carbon gas transition. It is going to get mixed with natural gas here. Natural gas आपका होता क्या? Methane. Methane is also a fossil fuel. It's polluting but less polluting than coal. So now we are going to add to methane hydrogen. A total mixture का जो polluting potential है, that will come down. ठीक है? So this is one of the agreements signed on the sidelines of India-Germany meet. Next news is DRDO tests MPA-TGM, which is actually man-portable anti-tank guided missile. इसमें होता क्या? That means soldiers can carry it on their shoulders and then fire it. एक बार fire कर दिया, you don't have to do anything. Fire and forget. The missile जो है, it will automatically find its target. ठीक है? Indigenous third generation ATGM, fire and forget missile system, top attack capability demonstrated, developed by DRDO, boosts infantry anti-armor power. Because normally anti-tank missiles used to be mounted on a particular system, even if it was ground based. Now it is man portable. MP stands for man portable. Okay? Man portable. That means foot soldiers can easily carry it on their shoulders and they can launch it. Easy to carry. Okay? India named chair of UN Disarmament Advisory Board. Disarmament pata is related to nuclear disarmament. That means the practice to stop using nuclear weapons or not manufacturing or proliferating nuclear weapons. Okay? This is also related to another piece of news which we'll discuss later. So India ये UN का एक body है to facilitate the practice of not using nuclear weapons, and India got a chance to be part of that board. Not just part, India is going to serve as the chair of that board. UN advisory body on disarmament advises UN Secretary General focus on arms control norms. First Indian chairperson. कुछ important इतना तो है नहीं, ठीक है? Pax Silica. This is very important actually. As I said, everyone wants to bypass China. And China is one of the largest producer of semiconductors. China and Taiwan, which is also an entity that China stakes its claim on. So China, Taiwan, South Korea, these are the largest semiconductor producing countries, economies, and China leads the entire zone, the entire Far East. But the United States, just to have a stable supply chain, which is not disrupted by China, United States came up with this concept called Pax Silica. That means peace through silica. Pax means peace. Peace through silica. और silica होता क्या है? Silicon dioxide, SiO2. It is a grouping of around 9 to 10 countries. It includes Japan also, Netherlands, US, UK, but not India. That's why India is going to face some challenge. ये जो grouping है, ये आपस में they're going to share technology and semiconductors with each other so that China can be easily bypassed. But India was disappointed because it was not a part of Pax Silica. Okay? But because it's going to sign, it has already signed agreements with Germany recently regarding creating semiconductors or manufacturing semiconductors. Maybe it can take a backdoor entry. Backdoor entry हो सकता है. Okay, or maybe India is going to get added to this grouping later. But currently it does not have India, and you got to know what is Pax Silica. Prelims में अगर आता है question, it is an initiative of the United States. Trusted supply chain partnerships reduces strategic dependencies. India likely participant. एक meet हो रहा है, India participate कर सकता है, लेकिन अभी है नहीं. India is not a member of Pax Silica. Nirantar initiative. This is again an initiative which is related to urban development but in a sustainable manner. The National Institute for Resource Research, so that we can use resources, natural resources in a sustainable manner. अगर पूछा जाता है निरंतर इनिशिएटिव किसके साथ रिलेटेड है, तो यू कैन से रिसोर्स सस्टेनेबल यूज ऑफ रिसोर्सेज. ठीक है? सपोर्ट्स क्लाइमेट एडेप्टेशन स्ट्रेटजीज, एविडेंस बेस्ड पॉलिसी मेकिंग प्लेटफॉर्म, प्रमोट्स बैलेंस रिसोर्स यूज. इट्स यूजफुल फॉर अर्बन प्लानिंग एज वेल एज इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर प्लानिंग. ठीक है? 4 decades of Australia Group, which is very important. There are 4 nuclear export control regimes, 4 important agreements, and one such agreement is Australia Group. आपने सुना होगा, India conducted 2 nuclear missile tests, as a result of which it suffered huge backlash. पहला कब हुआ था? 1973-74. 1974, Operation Smiling Buddha. ठीक है? Under the Prime Ministership of श्रीमती इंदिरा गांधी. Second हुआ 1999 में पोखरान में अंडर द प्राइम मिनिस्टरशिप ऑफ अटल बिहारी वाजपेयी जी. ठीक है? इसके कारण मेनी कंट्रीज बिकेम एंटी इंडिया एंड दे केम अप विद दिस कॉन्सेप्ट कॉल्ड न्यूक्लियर सप्लायर ग्रुप which will control the exporting of the nuclear material. It was immediately launched 1974. सेकंड आ गया आपका ऑस्ट्रेलिया ग्रुप, ये भी एक एक्सपोर्ट कंट्रोल बॉडी है. यू हैव टू मीट सर्टन क्राइटेरिया set by this body, only then you'll be able to import nuclear material. 1985 से अभी तक कितना हो गया? 40 years, 41 years. It completed 4 decades. Another is 1987 में एक था, that was MTCR, Missile Technology Control Regime. जितने भी मिसाइल टेक्नोलॉजीज हैं एंड न्यूक्लियर वॉरहेड्स के पॉसिबिलिटी है, उसको चेक करने के लिए देयर आर 4 agreements और 4 groupings. एंड दीज आर इनफॉर्मल ग्रुपिंग्स. पहला था NSG को छोड़ के, ठीक है. 1974 में आया NSG, द ईयर इंडिया टेस्टेड इट्स न्यूक्लियर मिसाइल फॉर द फर्स्ट टाइम. सेकेंड आया ऑस्ट्रेलिया ग्रुप, थर्ड आया MTCR, देन 1996 में वासेनार अग्रीमेंट. ये UPSC में पूछा जा सकता है. यू मे ऑल्सो रिमेंबर द क्रोनोलॉजी. एंड दीज ग्रुपिंग्स check the misuse of nuclear fuel or nuclear technologies. Okay. Now the focus of the news is Australia group. 40 years complete हो गए, ठीक है. CBW non-proliferation focus, that means complete ban on weapons और chemical and biological weapons यहाँ पे, ठीक है. chemical and biological weapons को भी use नहीं कर सकते. All sorts of weapons, nuclear war, nuclear material. If you're going to use nuclear fuel for any purpose other than civilian purpose, in सबको control करने के लिए these groupings have been formed. And India is a part of all the 3 groupings except NSG, because India has not signed yet the non-proliferation treaty. Non-proliferation treaty has to be signed by India first, only then it can get membership of NSG. ठीक है. Informal multilateral arrangement coordinates export controls. India joined in 2018. ठीक है. India is trying hard to be a part of NSG. So I think that's it regarding today's news today. Now, as you can see on the digital board, try to make the most of and visualize digital current affairs. Okay. And now 6 to 7 questions will appear on the screen. Take them all. Wish you all the very best.